Hello again, this is Fiendish with the Dimension Touring Company, here for episode 7 of From the Ground Up video building series. Last night when I left off, we were going to reskin these interior walls and finish out the doorways upstairs, which I've done. I reskinned the interior walls. I was able to free up about 15 pieces all the way around. And I like the contrast in here from the outside with using the plain stone, which as you can see really isn't all that plain. But one thing that I do like about the stone is that like the gray stone or like the limestone, it doesn't have grain lines, so you can flip things this way, that way, and there's no noticeable mismatch like there would be if I was using, say, this gray wood here. I did shut off the bathroom. For now, I don't anticipate having enough item count left to be able to do a bathroom, so I just went ahead and closed it off. And then, by doing that, you get out of the way of this door, and come in here, you can see that I kind of pulled out everything that wasn't dependent on, oh shoot, this is going to go to you, anything that wouldn't be noticeable from out here. I did embed this rectangle, as you can see it's far above the arch in here, so I only had to use one piece to block up this door. Did leave a faint gap there, and we might be able to tuck a light under there later on to make it look like it's in use. So I didn't make any changes up here beyond moving my spawn point up here to this side. That's because the PvP banner to get up here is also on this side, and if we want to present the illusion that we're coming up a flight of stairs, then we would want to have the sides be the same, because we wouldn't magically be able to teleport over here. So now that's the same. Really fix this triangle right here that's poking out. There we go. I got a seam line right here. It's really starting to bother me, but we might fix that later. And let's go back downstairs. And we're gonna get started in the kitchen first. Usually I do my living rooms first. This time we're gonna do the kitchen. I've already got some things started out here. You can see my pieces just kind of clustered all around here. The stove is nothing more than 2 stone tables flipped over. Let's see. We'll copy. Paste that, and then bring that back up like it was. Do a relative movement to put that back like it so it's not flickering. Here's that cannon. Manually turned so that it's facing upright. Now I've also got a metal pole and a shield and a white smoke effect. I have another metal pole coming out here with another shield and smoke effect outside. So now the stove is done. This stove in particular is based off of a picture I found on Google Images that was from a 13th century English castle. So I went ahead and just kind of copied it here. This is pretty close to exact. What I have here, we've got the door to be able to put the coals or wood in so that we can have the fire. And then in here there would be racks or whatever, however you would want to cook your food and bake your bread. The burners here, I like filled mugs for burners, and you can either raise them up a little bit, or you can sink them all the way down like I do, and then you can add something to them. Filled mugs are very versatile items. They're in use again here as the sink drain. Got one upraised and one lower to make a stopper. I've got hinges here with an iron framed wall sign, and to add a little bit of light, I've got white candlesticks as the handles. And we just push those in, and you can push them into where they either have the rounded edges like that, or it's just the straight edge of the painted metal crate. The legs are provided by these iron strap safes. Where nothing is sticking out the sides, and then they're pushed back front to back so that they're mostly centered on here. And then metal rectangles. I have my little pipe here pushed down far enough. To get all those spiky things under there. And that was it on the stove. There's another metal rectangle, kind of turned up at a slight angle. And that's how you put the stove together. I like making primitive stoves better than modern, just because they're much more item friendly. This stove takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 pieces, not counting the top, the burners, and the pipes. Your typical modern stove can take upwards of 30. This sink is pretty much a standby that I use in a lot of dimensions. I've used it where it's just a standalone, where it's just the sink itself with these legs here, and I've used it where I've built on counter edges. Here I am going to build on some counter edges, just because we want to give the workspace. Now, in this dimension, and every dimension, I like things to be proportional. When I build, things will always come to about waist height, or maybe hip height, so that, you know, you might be bending over a little bit to do some dishes, or to make breakfast. The ceilings in here are very, very high, and that makes it very difficult to be proportional. What we want to do is we try to fill up all this space, so then you'll have cabinets that are up here touching the ceiling that your character couldn't possibly reach. And then your countertops will be about chin level, and then the stove height would be over your head. I try to be proportional as much as possible, just because it's more believable that way. So this sink here, I've got a front I've already added, and that's going to be our cabinet doors and drawers and everything else. But it's down right now so you can see the actual construction, which is nothing more, pull that one out, than some copy and pasted rectangles and planks. Now, this hand pump. You'll see a couple of these out here and there when you go out touring on the shards, and they're actually not that hard to make. This one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces all together. And we have an iron pickaxe, a floor lever, which are roll drops in Kingsword, and I think I picked this one up on the auction house here for about 50 silver. Thanks to minions. A metal pole, which you can get off the shop for 2 gold, I think, or off the auction house for about 10 silver. And then some shields and a large quill to provide the base. Now, as far as this base goes, you can use either the quill, you can use a white candlestick, you can use anything. And if you want some more a more fun looking spout, you can try, wow, might be helpful. You can try scaling chairs and turning them around. I'll tell you that the blue stone chair actually does pretty well for things like this, because the way that the chair is shaped makes a pretty decent spout rim. So we'll line that up a little bit better than it is right now. And these things are mostly made manually. I use add-ons for a lot of things, but when it comes to making stuff like this, I make them by hand, and I try to only make them once, because I don't feel like things like this are one of my stronger areas. So if I make something that works once, then I keep it, and I'll save it as a set and just reuse it and reuse it and reuse it. Well, that might be about as good as it gets. So now we can raise this up, copy this, no, we don't even need to copy it, we'll just rotate in the 90. Thankfully, all the free item dimensions that are on this shard have plenty of blue wood building blocks in them. So there is no fear that we'll run out or have to buy more off the store. I'm going to inset this just a little bit from the counter. Copy again. And then for the bottom, I want another plank. I'm going to scale this one. Not that much. These arrows, they're a little bit more user-friendly than they used to be, but they're still sometimes a pain in the butt. Now let's see how much leeway we've got to come up. And at least with the ceilings being this high, you can jump up on the counters and see things like that. So we're not going to intrude on the sink, but we will come pretty close to it. Then we'll take another one, and there we go. Now we've got some cabinets. And for handles, I want some orange cork jugs. Orange cork jugs run about a gold a piece off the shop. I typically buy them by the stack. But on this, there we go, minus 90. I'm going to resize that just a little bit, so that handle would actually fit in my hand. Now when you do small stuff like this, and that arrow is totally blocking the way, and take a second jug, put it somewhere out of the way. There we go. And that moves the center point of the two items so that I can see what I'm actually doing. And then from there, once I have the positioning in, as far as the front to back goes, then I can just line it up correctly from side to side and vertically. And then cabinets. I typically don't save things like cabinets as a set, just because they really don't take that long to make. I will make like the components, such as the sink itself, so that I only have to make it once. And this sink is versatile enough where I can add a divider if I want to, or I can make a modern sink with faucets and a spout. But here, I like the idea of using the hand pump, even though it still drives me a little crazy that that's so high. And so there goes our stove and our sink. So we've got the main pieces of our kitchen done. But as you can see, this room, it's really good sized. This is a lot of space to fill. And in an actual medieval castle, the kitchen wouldn't even be in the main keep. It would be off in its own building. And of course the poor servants would have to haul everything to the great hall from wherever the kitchen was. And we can load up this stuff here. And a lot of this is just going to be placing. I realize that even a Folly wouldn't have like a modern trash can. But, you know, it's a fantasy game and we can do what we want. So I've got a trash can. Now I need to find my sacks and actually make a bag of trash. Okay, I got that banker to give me my full burlap sack, which a lot of people use these to take the place of trash bags and laundry and anything else that would be good in a nice closed sack like this. And so now that was placed so that somebody can go and take that out. Now the time of day that we have set in here is 5 a.m. and since that is our time of day, then we're gonna need some water. That's a good time. Now we know approximately what meal time it would be, which is breakfast. I like when I make housing dimensions, I really like to make some kind of table setting, some kind of food, and we can more food very easily in not a lot of items. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this light. I was able to lower the main ceiling just a little bit all the way around. These tall windows in here kind of screwed us on the ceiling height as much as we're allowed. I could add another tile in here to drop this ceiling down a little bit, but I don't want too much of a contrast between this room's ceilings and this room's. And I don't really want to give up the items anyways. What we can do is keep the light at eye level and lower, and then our visitors won't have any reason to look up and see how much vertical space is sitting empty. And also, while it's darker, it makes it look smaller. So now I'm going to bring my light back so we can see what we're doing. This rug here, this is something that I like to use a lot. It's a round bommy table with a tablecloth sunk in so that just the tablecloth shows. These are pretty good items if you have the place to hide the rest of the table. They make good washcloths, towels, and rugs. I don't like a lot of the rugs that are available just because they're dirty, they're crooked, they're ripped up and torn, or they don't sit flat on the floor. It's one of my pet peeves when I get a rug and I set it down and the center goes through the floor and the edges are sticking up above the floor. I like these because it sits flat. All I have to do is just get it so that the corners aren't sticking down into the floor too much, and that's it, and that the table doesn't poke out. So we wouldn't have a refrigerator or anything, so I'm not going to make one of those. And then our color scheme is pretty much going to be blue and plain wood. You can make cabinets using just about anything you could possibly want. Let me find some planks. I'm going to size it. But we don't want it that high. I've built them that tall before, and you can do it, of course. I mean, I'm not going to tell anybody they can't do whatever they want to in their dimension. Just for my personal taste, I like things to be sized about right. Like, I should be able to reach, maybe with a step stool, whatever's on the top shelf of that cabinet. Now, as far as the sizing goes, that's all somewhat random. And then the thickness of these planks here gives me a little bit of room to play with as far as what I want to put in here. I'm only going to put one on the bottom. But we'll go all the way across on top. Now down here, this is where we're really going to have the freedom to be able to go into the floor, and back here we'll have the freedom to go into the walls because there's nothing back here. But a lot of empty space with that tower, so that's actually going to work a lot like a false wall and give us some room to be able to have rectangles poking out or whatever. So now we want another plank. And that's about right. We'll take a wood tile. Now all these woods have grain lines that you don't have to try to match them up, but a lot of times you will trying to match them up, and that makes working with things that have a grain line very item intensive. Now then, so I can see where I'm putting my planks. So I can try to get my vertical height correct. Okay. You don't have to use building blocks. You can use whatever you want to. I've made cabinets with painted crates, blue chests, the open safes, any other kind of chests that you can find off the shop. And it's just trying to line everything up. And then we'll go ahead and stick with our orange cork jugs. Now this we can open up. Uh-oh. Okay, let me go rustle up some plank. Okay, so we rustled up some planks. And we're ready to finish this thing out. And we'll take another couple of these. 90 and 90. We want to see how much room we have, how much you need to adjust these. So that we can separate a couple of these other areas. For this, I'm not trying to be really accurate. I was looking at images of Georgian furniture, which is about the period when the original version of this was built. And Georgian furniture looks kind of uncomfortable and fragile. And it was a lot of bright colors, a lot of floral patterns, and pretty sure we probably could have done that more efficiently with some rectangles. But when you do these, it's not just about the items that are going in, it's also about the thickness of the wood. Because you're not going to have a shelf where your dividing pieces are the same thickness as your outer edges. And even my outer edges are probably too wide. But go back to that takeaway of it's a fantasy game and it's my dimension, I can do what I want. So there. Okay. I'm going to drop that back in. We got a little bit of a poke through there. There we go. We don't want this coming too far forward. That's pretty good. So the point of this one is that you can just take your normal building blocks and pretty much, you know, put them in any kind of configuration that you want to, and you'll come out with a decent looking cabinet, closet, whatever. And you don't have to use building blocks. You know, you can use bookcases are great for using as the foundation pieces for closets like this. And where are my blue rectangles? And of course I pushed the wrong button. And again. Phew, I guess it's one of those days. Rotate and improvise with the tile. So I could have swore I grabbed rectangles when I was in Take a Penny. And voila. Now I got a place to put my dishes. Well, not the dishes of the Lord or Lady of the house, but the dishes that the servants might eat on and cook with. We're going to definitely be getting some use out of this over here. And this can go here. So now we've got this, and it took up a lot of room, not too badly on the item count. So we've got a little bit of space going along this wall, and then a whole bunch of space on the floor. And I'm not really going to worry about too much about this wall. I did move it in because it was the original position level here. Had it cutting off the door jamb. So I just pushed it back far enough to be able to have the whole door frame out and open. And then once again, we'll use our orange cork jugs here to make our knobs. So now, one thing that we do need to do is make a place where the help might eat. Alright, here we are back again. As you can see, while I had it paused, I made some changes. I decided we needed some workspace, so we made this little countertop here. And we may be able to, yeah, we can bring that out from the wall some, like a normal countertop would be. And we can actually lengthen these planks a little bit because they don't have to be exactly as wide as the walls now. And all I did, I took out most of the guts of our previous shelf and just brought everything down and then created some doors. So now we have a worktop with some handles, and then I made this thing over here pretty much exactly through all the same procedures as we made the last one. And I've got marked, you know, like what would be here. Like, you can picture whatever you want to in these pantry, behind these pantry doors. And then we'll add stuff here a little bit later on. And now we want a table. Not that big. And we'll flip it upside down. And then we have a little table that perhaps people might eat at when there's not enough for the full to you know, to open up the main dining room, or maybe perhaps the servants sit here, or for whatever reason. And when it's not in use as a table, it's in use as a workbench. We are going to need a second one, so we can cover up this little gap right here. And the good thing about using this mausoleum, I think I want the square ones instead. The good thing about using the mausoleums is they're going to have a thickness, darn it, that will let us do some food morphing on that table without anything being real obvious in the way. And here we are. We just made a little trip to the bank, grabbed some square mausoleums instead of the round ones, and we'll do exactly like we already had done over there. That's better. I'm going to set these a little bit lower than our countertops, just like our normal table would be. And then, since we're going to flip it in the roll and the yaw, that equates to we want to actually flip it in the pitch, and we want to offset all the way around so that we don't get any flicker. have some mismatches, but not. Why did that go the same way? Because I didn't reset the angle. That would be why. Alright. Line it up. Bring it up in the Y. Another 1,000th or so. And there we go. Now we have a table slash island slash whatever. Workbench. Whatever we want it to be. And we can go in later and turn those side walls blue. But I highly doubt that I'll do that. And now we can get some lights. Let's do a medium out here. There we go. And that pretty much gave me some pinpoint light out here at eye level, which is all I want. We want to try to keep this up here dark. Got a light tucked in here. I think we can pull that out safely now. Yes. And maybe switch it with a small. And put it down closer to the stove top. Chairs. Let's see how that fits under there. Yeah, I'll leave it for the counter. Never know what you'll find in your take a penny, leave a penny on your shard, or what kind of real bargain you'll find on the auction house. Now the arms of these chairs clip up against these tables, so I'm back them out just a little bit so that they're freestanding. And then you want to, when you do things like this, especially once your space starts getting small, is just run around and make sure that you can actually still fit in all the areas. And we've managed to eat up most of the available floor space. And like I said earlier, I'm not really too worried about this corner over here. Now the one thing I do want to make sure that I don't forget to add are my salt and pepper shakers. And you can use metal barrels, you can use wood barrels, you can use whatever you want to make salt and pepper shakers, if you choose to make them at all. You certainly don't have to. I like to do an orange jug combination. I take one, flip the second one around. Not like that. And then shift and select them both. So there's my salt shaker. Take another one. Make sure I got the right arrow clicked. And put it down. And I want to bring that up there's my pepper shaker. I'm going to try to center those in this table as much as possible. And then I want to make some plates. And if you missed this year's Carnival of the Ascended, or if you were like me and only did it on one cluster instead of both, then you can still make your own plates very easily. Using a shield combination. I did do a couple of the other world events on the EU cluster. Let's see, I know what I'm looking for. Let's see how that... I don't think that's going to work so well. No. I do a lot of flipping back and forth to items. I don't have a clear plan always of like exactly what item I'm going to try to use for a particular thing. I might have an idea in mind, but chances are that at some point during the whole thing it will change. Ooh, these are fancy. We might use these out in the main dining room. It's just a lot of size adjustments. Trying to get everything lined up. Alright, I don't like that. I know exactly what I want, and in this mess of my bags, I can't find it. But these will work. We'll make sure it's centered. When you're making things like these urn and plate, or urn and shield plates, you just want to come in just below the rim to get that rounded appearance like that. And because we don't want to do that again, we will save that and do it the easy way the second time. Another thing that we want here is at 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't know about you, but I'm going to have some coffee. I'm not a morning person. One might take theirs with cream. And a spoon. Both the iron and steel pickaxes scale very well, and the handles make them pretty versatile for whatever you want to make out of them. it's not sticking out too much on the sides. And I don't think it is on that side. You're using them in cups like this. Try to get it so that the pointy ends are at the widest part of the mug. And that little speck there could be anything. But if your coffee's so thick that it holds the spoon upright without it leaning on the cup, that's some extremely strong coffee. And I clicked the wrong thing. And there's that. See if I got any carved wood. Cubes, triangles, rectangles, tiles, and planks. Of course, everything but a carved wood pole. Alright, got my pole. Copy, paste, and rotate. Poles are a lot easier to manipulate when you flip them upside down, or anywhere where you can see that the arrow is not directly in the way of whatever you're trying to do. So there's our black coffee, and then, because no one likes drinking cold coffee, put some steam effects in. So now we've got our coffee and our plates. When we come back next time, we will set about to actually making breakfast for our early risers here. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.